partnership with Ramsey County to allow them to be community gardens, and I get really excited about those possibilities. I always think if we can do it here in Ward 6, we can do it here across the city, we can do it across the state, and across this country. Thank you.
So, with energy democracy, I just want to point out that our city highest ranking person with the mayor on and his team is our Chief Resilience Officer, Russ Clark, who has been working really hard to do the CARP plan and trying to get communities involved with climate issues. So I would work closely with him. I would work closely with Minnesota 350. I am a person that listens, and I'm not saying that I'm an expert on this issue, but I would be listening to every community member that would be bringing this issue up front. This is a really important issue that we need to face together with everyone at the table. Every community member, every resident, every member that wants to talk about this issue will be welcome in my office, and we'll work together to come up with a plan that works for all of us. Thank you.
So we're going to assemble some of the audience questions, and while we're doing so, Gene Comstock is going to have a little talk with us as we're getting your audience questions assembled.
Well, I'm a little awkward here, yes. I'm Jean Comstock, and I've got a couple things to ask you tonight. The first thing I'm going to ask is if you would go to your handout and pick up the map. We're going to take a little closer look at that right now. This map is a composite vulnerability map. It shows the impact of various negative climate change effects on us. It combines the impact of pollution, extreme heat, and flooding. So take a closer look at that northeast corner. You'll see the communities of Payne-Phalen, Dayton's Bluff, and the greater east side. Ward 6, this is us. And there are a lot of orange areas that you can see here. Those indicate the places where the effects are at their highest. As you can see, it's a lot worse on the east side than in many other areas of the city of St. Paul. This map comes from the St. Paul Climate Action and Resilience Plan. You can find this plan online by going to the City of St. Paul's website. This plan contains other maps. Here's one on air quality. I realize you can't see the detail from where you are, but I guarantee you that there's a lot of orange showing in the Ward 6 area, and that means high risk due to air pollution. There's another one about extreme heat. Again, I know that you can't see it from where you are, but there are a lot of orange areas in here too, in Ward 6. Generally, extreme urban heat comes from lack of ground covering and by a lessening of the tree canopy. I don't know if you've noticed yourself that there are fewer trees around, but sometimes I look around and think, yeah, we're losing trees here. And the thing is, we don't have to. We can fix this yet. Don't let anybody tell you that it's too late, because we can do this. But it's going to take some hard work. And that's where this card comes in. You also got this in your handout. It says Minnesota 350 or MN350 action on the front of it. And you may ask what this is. Well, this is the thing that allows us to pay for what we do in the organization. For example, this is how we pay to put on forums like this, where you not only get information about climate change, but you get to be introduced to the candidates for City Council in Ward 6. This is also how we organize people to fight climate change. So if you can get out your card that says Minnesota 350 Action on it and open it up, you'll see the standard fields there for filling in your name and address, your mailing address, your phone number, ways that we can contact you. So pick the one that you like the best, whether it's email or a phone number. And yes, at this point, I am asking you to fill this out and join us. So, the second part is, Chelsea, I don't know what you have. Oh, pens. Yes, if you need a pen. Chelsea has some right there. Thank you. So please, if you need a pen, just raise your hand and we'll get one to you. So you can fill that out. Now the bottom part is the suggested donation. What would really help us the most is if you become a monthly contributor. You know, it's just like getting a paycheck. You can kind of plan ahead, you can budget, you know how much money you're going to have coming in. So that's a great idea. If that's not something you can handle tonight, we certainly appreciate even a one-time contribution. You can do it by check or credit card or money, and we will pick that up and we will use it. Okay, so there are a lot of suggestions for what you can put in, and there's also one that I like. It's called Other. So you can decide what you can manage. But keep in mind, this is really important to us. Why do you want to donate? Well, because we've got an existential crisis facing us in climate change. Think of this as your donation to the planet. You want to think more locally? We can do that too. Every one of you in this room, especially people who have lived for any length of time in Ward 6, you know that the city of St. Paul has seriously underfunded Ward 6 for generations, and we need to fix that. This is what we can use to grow our political capital in order to make changes to that, and that's what we've got to do. So we're going to take 1 full minute right now so that you can take some time and fill out your card. We want to pick them up tonight. So make any donation you can. You have your pens. So we're just going to take 1 full minute right now. Yes?
Are your efforts mostly for political action and advocacy then?
Yes.
Is there a percentage of what your efforts are that do not go towards that?
I don't know the answer to that question. Grant, do you have any idea?
100% goes to education and political work.
100%. So there is nobody making a living off of,
Oh, we have staff.
huh?
We have staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't know what percentage that takes of the monies that are generated.
I mean, I don't know. That's mainly what we have as people. It's mainly what we have as people, but I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards.
The orange shirts you see here are people donating their time, okay?
Yeah,
We're all volunteers.
All right. join up then. Okay, everybody's got pens if they need, all right?
Y'all must not want no money from candidates.
Oh, you were so sad. I have We'll catch you on the way out.
I can pick some up.
Okay, are we about done? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Pass those to the end. And Janet will be picking some up.
To the middle.
Oh, pass them to the middle. There you go. This is why Janet is really at tops here. Okay, well, thank you very much. Appreciate you all coming out tonight. I don't want to take any of these things. And thank you so much, those of you who have joined the good fight. We appreciate it.
All right, so our first audience question is, and there'll be a minute for each of these. Protect our planet. Should garbage and recycling collection include higher costs for both producers and consumers? To protect our planet, should garbage and recycling collection include higher costs for both producers and consumers?
Well, I want to share that I'm in full support of organized trash. That's something that we need in our city here. That's something that many other cities have been able to succeed in. I believe city services should always be saving families more money. Like, that's just a given. And that's actually how we level the playing field for everybody. When we do that, like, we actually make sure that we're putting power into the hands of people. We're making sure that everybody has equitable service all across the map. And so, you asked about higher costs. Like, higher costs should never be a part of the question when it comes to these type of services.
A lot of, we already have higher costs, right? If you have a larger bin, my family has a larger bin, I've got a pretty full household, then I already pay more because I naturally am producing more. So there's already ways which a system has already built for that. What I hear at the doors, and I support the municipal program, but what I hear at the doors is the cost it is for people who are on lower incomes, our seniors, or people who are retiring. And I think we can do something about the cost because that really matters to folks. Again, we have 40% poverty levels here on the east side. And so we have to look at, for both producers and consumers. So we also have to think of ways to move people to think differently about how they produce and consume so that we aren't generating so much trash in the first place.
I will echo what other candidates said about the poverty rate here and making sure that we don't use the stick and we use the carrot approach, and we reward people who produce less waste and by letting them having the small carts as we do now, and charging more for those who produce more waste. But I would also go to the extent of charging more for the producer of products that are not recyclable or compostable. So making sure that the producers are thinking about, and that's who we should go after. It's not the consumer. The producers are the ones that are causing the problem. And if they use recyclables or compostable items, then we would be saving a lot of energy and water.
I think most people here in the city of St. Paul is in favor of organized trash. The problem is the implementation process, the lack of transparency, the lack of inclusion, and thereafter. If elected to the city council, I will work with you all as community members to assure that the current trash program is abolished in its entirety. Right now, it is not reflective of who we are as a community. Just earlier on in the forum, we had a situation where voices were unable to be heard. And that is a problem, okay? If we as Democrats are going to say that we are all about equity and inclusion, then the policies that we implement should reflect that, okay? I'll leave it at that.
The next question is, and this is the lightning round, how do you anticipate partnering with county and state elected officials to address climate change concerns? Audience question.
Well, I would say personally for me, I have relationships with a number of different folks, and for those that I do not have any relationships with, I'm someone who would just go up to an elected and say, these are some of the issues that we're concerned about. I have no problem cold calling people and asking them. What I do know is that there are, because it is a government, we do probably have a state plan and a county plan to do this. So it really is about elevating the voices of those living here, Ward 6, elevating what we're experiencing here to what they're seeing at their tables. Because East Side problems are not Highland Park problems. And so at times, particularly when we look at that heat map too. And we do need to partner because some of the issues are not just Ward 6 issues, they're citywide issues and regional issues, and that we have to look at other sources of money from the state, local, federal level to help support the solutions that we're gonna need here.
And I would, it's important that we work across lines, so county, state representatives that represent us should be working with us to aggressively addressing these issues. And without their partnership, I think if we just do, we make ordinance that are just municipal, just city ordinance, it doesn't have a bigger effect where we have a larger state mandate to make sure that everyone in our state is doing the right thing. If a sale of plant in Mankato can affect us in St. Paul, I think we do have to work with our elected officials to make sure that that we are addressing the issue statewide.
Will you repeat the question, please?
How would you work with partnering with county and state elected officials?
We have a lot of bureaucracies here in the city of St. Paul. We need to minimize those. But more importantly, we as neighbors need to begin to learn how to work in concert with one another on not only the city level, the county level, but as well as the state level. We're already doing that, through the Founding Neighbors Project. I highly encourage you all to go to my website, alexjbourne.com. You can click on the F&P tab and look at some of those projects. All of those projects are strategic partnerships, will be, if implemented, strategic partnerships with the city, with the county, with the state.
I am an organizer. I do racial equity work. Every day I take Action Minnesota, and part of that work means like electing progressive people into office and also holding them accountable too. Because of that work, it's really allowed me to see the type of leadership that we need in order to be able to make sure that every year that that I am a council member, for example, I am making sure that my work is setting us up to where we want to be 10 years, 20 years down the road. That's what investment is all about. And that also means that to me, like meeting with or with other county commissioners or other state officials and telling them what we need is actually not enough. I believe that we would be in a much more better communities when we have elected officials who are unafraid and unapologetic about going and organizing other elected officials. That's actually what we need. And in the east side here especially, we need to be doing that and making sure that we get commitments and that we are co-governing with elected officials and people and making sure that we all are working together collectively.
The next one is, what specifically makes the areas in the city, I'm assuming it means to say, very high risk sections, and what makes them fall into these categories? Sure. What specifically makes the areas in the what specifically makes the areas in the very high risk sections on the map fall into that category?
So there are many things that does that. As you know, we've been cutting a lot of the trees and not replacing them on time. We have buildings that are outdated, that are not being updated with energy efficiencies. So there are many, and if you cross map the map of concentrated poverty to this map, it will look similar. So there's the map of concentrated poverty, and you put this one next to each other, you would have the same arrangement of colors happening. So the fact that we are in a high rate of poverty, people have not been able to update their houses to meet these criteria of high efficiency homes, and the lack of support from the city for many years has led us to this point. And we need to organize as a community, as neighborhood, as neighbors, to make sure that we do get what we need on this side, which is equity. And
by a show of hands, who wrote that question? I'm going to stand humble right now and tell you that I will use this as a time to learn. I don't know the answer to that question, but I assure you that I'll get your contact information after this forum, do a little bit more research, and loop back around with you.
I want to name that we live in systems that have always been built to leave out people of color, people who are living in poverty. And you know, that's actually what really inspired me to do racial equity work, because I am one of those people who was who were left out. And I'm a daughter of refugees. My parents came here having to really work from the bottom up, and to this day they're actually still struggling. They're working people. I'm a working person myself. I'm a renter here in the East Side, living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm determined and really motivated to build for change, for progressive change in my council race, because I know that there are actually a lot of families who have the same story to this day, and these things are, you know, the systems we live in are actually the reasons why we are in the conditions that we are in now. And we need people who are actually going to stand up to that, who are really going to be bold, who are really going to be here to change the story of what the East Side could look like by leading with those values. And you know, while other candidates, right, they talk a lot about resumes or experience or boards they've been on, like, to me that's actually not important, because we all actually have that experience in us in some way, shape, or form, and we need people who to lead with values to be able to bring us to where we want to be.
If we look at the history of land use, we can see how a lot of patterns are. And traditionally, the East Side had been a neighborhood that had been a working class neighborhood, right? And so that, you know, well, traditionally it would have been an indigenous area, and then later on a neighborhood of immigrants. And so so sometimes when they're working class and you're poor, the fact of the matter is, and you don't vote, people do not, you know, pay attention. And so I know what it's like to grow up in poor neighborhoods. I grew up in the Frogtown neighborhood. I grew up in a time when it was pretty scary to be outside, and that folks, and that my parents wouldn't let us be outside. But I think the point is we have to make their neighborhoods better off for what we need to be, so that the conditions that we're experiencing now, we can make a change. We can move it so that it's not just letting those conditions dictate and predict those things for us.
Since no one answered the question, and we're just going to talk about lived experiences, I am the only candidate that grew up right here in Ward 6. I always tell people right at the corner of where Ward 6 starts or ends, at the corner of Edgerton and Minnehaha, marginalized in the space of opportunity in every capacity. I personally have overcame many barriers that I'm proud to talk about. Yeah. Since no one wanted to answer the question directly. So.
Well, we read the water report that came out, the strongest corollary between poor water quality is communities of color. So, there you go. Wait, I'm not a candidate. Anyway, all right, so this is, you got me going, Alexander.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, so Minneapolis has an advisory board. The question is, will you advocate for a citizens advisory board to advise the city council on negotiating the next 5-year XL contract?
Absolutely. We need to have a people-centered, we need to have people at the center of every decision that's made, whether it's through small projects, budgetary projects, and so forth. I'm all for equity and inclusion, uplifting the voices of the voiceless. Today I have 2 volunteers here with me today. Never in their life have they ever sat in a candidate forum, never alone a forum specifically for, surrounding energy. And so I think, you know, making sure that we are doing what we have to do as